I called the cops on my mother-in-law at my baby shower after she went totally out of control, tried to name my baby, humiliated me in front of everyone, and ultimately got herself arrested. Now my husband and I are dealing with the fallout, deciding if we can ever have her in our lives again. I'm Amelia, 29F, and I'm married to Mark, 31M, and right now I'm about 7 months pregnant with our first child. This whole journey has been such a roller coaster. From the pure joy of seeing those positive pregnancy test lines to the weird cravings and late-night talks about baby names. Mark and I have been together for ages, married for just over 4 years, and after a year of trying, finally got the news we've been hoping for, a baby on the way. We waited until the second trimester passed to tell our families, because you just never know, and wanted to make sure everything was safe. We invited everyone, my parents, Mark's younger brother Paul, 29M, my older sister Claire, 34F, and a few close friends over for lunch. Everyone thought it was just a regular get-together, but when they saw my little baby bump, the mood switched instantly to pure excitement. My mom actually started crying and hugged me, thrilled to become a grandma, and totally got why we'd held off on sharing the news. Mark's mom, Teresa, on the other hand, completely freaked out. She got super offended, made it all about how she was excluded, and never even tried to hide her irritation even after we explained why we waited. She barely spoke to me, just stuck to her phone, ignored my mom, who's always been nice to her, kept mentioning to anyone who'd listen that she missed out and you'd robbed her of time with her grandchild. Mark and his brother Paul noticed the tension, and eventually I just had to step out and get some air. My mom came with me, calmed me down, and when the night ended, Teresa made a show of saying goodbye to me last, still barely speaking a word. As Mark walked his parents outside, a full-blown argument erupted between him and Teresa, loud enough for me to hear from the foyer. She yelled about how I'd kept the pregnancy from her, accused me of not valuing family, and blamed me for everything. Mark stayed calm, told her clearly we'd made the decision together, and there was no slight, but she ramped up, saying I was controlling him and that as his mother, she deserved to know first. At that point, Mark lost it a bit. He told her to stop blaming me, and if she was angry, to blame them both. He insisted she back off and give him and us some breathing room. I was still in tears when Mark came inside and comforted me, and my parents hung around to offer support till I felt okay. But that night, Teresa sent me a message, full of disappointment, calling me disrespectful, accusing me of dividing her for her son, and telling me to be ashamed. That message wrecked me. Mark was livid. He called her and told her not to send me stuff like that again. Even told her he'd cut her off if she didn't stop. Realizing he was serious, she suddenly changed her tune. She said the only way she could ever forgive us was if we let her throw my baby shower, making it sound like a peace offering. Mark hoped it was her way of making up and told me maybe it could patch things up before the baby came, but I was wary that it was just about her getting back control. Still, I agreed, and Mark said, "Okay, Mom, you can do the baby shower." Teresa was over the moon and immediately launched into planning. I assumed she'd want my input, but nope. She took over everything without consulting me, bought all the decorations, picked the games, planned the entire schedule, and even told my mom she'd be surprised, just like me. I felt shut out and honestly, pretty defeated. The baby shower day arrived and it was a mix of excitement and dread. The venue, a small banquet hall, was decked out in an over-the-top, mismatched sea of brown and beige balloons. I dreamed of soft pastels, so this safari theme just looked sad. The pièce de résistance was a massive banner at the entrance, a huge photo collage of Mark as a baby alongside Teresa, which everyone found very odd for, my baby shower. I shot Teresa a look, and she just laughed it off, insisting our baby would surely look like Mark. And she was just so proud of how cute he was. It was so clear she was trying to make the day about her as a mother, not us. As more guests arrived, the confusion spread, and when my mom came in, she was so incensed by the banner that she walked straight up, yanked it down, and dunked it in the trash. The room went silent. Teresa was horrified and scolded my mom about ruining her special touch. But my mom coolly replied that the day was meant to celebrate me and my baby, not Teresa's glory days as a mom. Guests were awkwardly whispering, but Teresa retreated to her friends, clearly embarrassed. Despite the drama, I tried to keep the focus on having fun. Everyone barring Teresa was warm and encouraging. After some awkward games, it was time for gifts. I got lots of lovely presents, but the biggest box from Teresa arrived with a ridiculously forced smile. I thanked her, and she just smirked, clearly looking for attention. But the real blow-up came at the cake cutting. Teresa clinked her glass for attention, then loudly declared she'd picked the perfect name for our baby girl after her great-grandmother. A stuffy, old-fashioned name we'd never even considered. Mark and I hadn't decided on the name ourselves yet, so I politely told her that it was a decision only Mark and I could make, but she wouldn't accept that. She insisted I owed it to her, that since she'd paid for the shower, she deserved the naming rights, and accused me of being a bad daughter-in-law. I shut her down firmly. It's our decision, and it didn't matter who hosted the party. That triggered Teresa. She started screaming at me in front of everyone, calling me disrespectful, criticizing how my mom raised me, and even saying she'd be the real mother to my baby since she gave birth to Mark and his sperm made the baby. My mom stepped between us while Teresa kept ranting, attacking my character, slurring her words, and getting physically aggressive. I realized trying to reason with her was pointless, so I decided to leave with the gifts my friends had brought. Teresa, though, suddenly ripped them from my hands, dumped them on the floor, and called me ungrateful, a witch who ruined her relationship with her son. People started filming on their phones as the scene deteriorated, and I had a close friend start ushering out the guests. Teresa kept screaming, acting even more out of control, to the point where I began to feel genuinely unsafe. Desperate, I called the police, yes, at my own baby shower, because of my mother-in-law. When they arrived, Teresa immediately painted herself as the victim, but because she was obviously drunk and uncooperative, yelled even at the officers and resisted them, eventually getting herself arrested right then and there. I left with my mom and friends, shaken and exhausted. Since then, Mark and I have been left picking up the pieces. Teresa, naturally, started a pity party, telling relatives outside our city that I overreacted. Mark gets why I called the cops, but he does wonder if I could have instead called him or his dad to step in. So here it is, internet. AITA for calling the cops on my MIL at my own baby shower for humiliating and endangering me. Just because she's obsessed with controlling my pregnancy and the baby. Update 1. I'm honestly overwhelmed by the support I've gotten from posting this. It means so much to feel like I did the right thing. I just want to say thank you. I've never seen Teresa act so aggressively before, but that day, her behavior made me genuinely worried for my safety and my baby's. All the guests have reached out to comfort me. Several have already shared the videos they took, and my plan is to show them to Mark so we can talk seriously about next steps with his mom. Update 2. I showed Mark the videos. When we both sat down to talk, I explained every detail, how Teresa's behavior got worse through each phase. The pregnancy reveal, the baby shower, her yelling, the weird gifts, all of it. Watching the recording was a wake-up call for Mark. He was horrified, apologizing for doubting me and for underestimating how bad things got. He told me he'd never realized his mom could behave like that. He promised my safety came first, and we talked honestly about her controlling ways. I told him I wanted no further contact with her, and if he wanted to see her alone, that was okay. But unless she got serious counseling, I would keep myself and our baby away. Surprisingly, Mark agreed, feeling disgusted by her actions and deciding to cut her off himself. I made sure he wasn't just doing it for me, but he was determined. His mother crossed a line. He promised to make it clear to her, and I stressed that if she ever tried to show up at our home unannounced, I would call the police again. Update 3. A month has passed. The baby and I are fine, approaching the due date and excited. Since the last update, we've totally cut Teresa off. Mark talked to his dad, and his dad promised to make sure Teresa got the message and respected our boundaries. Honestly, life is so much quieter now. With her out of the picture, Mark and I can focus on getting ready for the baby in peace, and the support from friends and the rest of the family has been incredible. Even some relatives who hadn't known the full story saw the now viral footage and reached out to back us up. This whole chapter has only made Mark and me stronger, reminded us that sometimes you have to put yourself and your family's well-being first, even if it means making a hard, painful break. We know it won't always be easy, but we're committed to creating a safe, loving home for our child. That brings this story to a close. This story illustrates that sometimes setting strong boundaries, even with close family members, is necessary for your own well-being. Navigating complicated family dynamics can be emotionally exhausting, but is sometimes the only way forward. Here is a question for you. Have you ever had to go no contact with a family member for your own peace of mind? Would you have called the cops in this situation? Or tried something else? Let me know in the comments.